Hello, true believer. Today we're going to go through TinkerCad exercise that follows how to build a simple alien. So that's the alien that we'll be trying to aim to make by the end of this. Okay, so let's just simply start and begin. So the alien that we're going to make has a few different shapes involved in it. So we've got a cylinder, half sphere at the top, and the big eyes and a few tentacles off to the side, and an interesting bit of armor that goes on the back of it. So this is the first step. We're going to try and build something like this. And here we go. So the first step is we're going to build a simple cylinder and put the sphere sort of lid on top of it. So we place the cylinder down and we go get the half sphere and place that down. We then want to place the sphere above the z-axis until it's higher than the cylinder. So let's just group those together and align it. And hopefully you can get the sphere. So I'm just going to press, no, I've got the cylinder. That's right. Get that above it. Actually, let's just undo all of that. Put the sphere down. Let's make that higher straight away. Now we can align it. Like so. Perfect. So that's now aligned. And we can see exactly how far above it is. So if we bring that down a little, using control down, we then want to rotate the sphere on the z-axis. So there's the front, and we want to rotate him 22.5. So we just use the inside, and there she is. Perfect. So we've placed the sphere, we've done that. We now need to cut into the sphere. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a block on the work plane underneath. So we're going to put the work plane under here, place the block underneath it, and then that should give us a nice happy cut. So now, if I bring that back, like so, and that way, and then we want to make sure that we've got the lid maybe a little bit down. So we're going to drop the accuracy down, and there we go. So now if we group that, we should cut into that cylinder, and then we can come back out of the work plane. So now we're going to lower that down onto it. So if we just press Control Shift down, and that's pretty well aligned angular wise. And then we just move it back. And down. And then we've got to try and get that tail bit over at the end. Let's pull that out a bit, like so. Perfect. Oh, nearly perfect. Let's do that. And now if I'll drag it from there. Oop. Yeah, right. Let's move that back so it's aligned. So let's click there. Maybe a bit more. And now if we move that back, pretty much well aligned. Great. So there's the first step. So we've placed the cylinder on the top. We now need to make a tooth for the front. So we're going to get a pyramid. I think it said here. So we've got the cylinder all good. Yep. Looks pretty good. So now we're going to get a pyramid. I'm going to rotate that around 90 degrees. And this is going to make the gap in the cylinder. So if we have these two selected, we align it based relative to that, and we center it. And now we just shrink it down. So we go there, down, and we'll move that up into the cylinder. Might make that a little bit bigger. And bring that down. And push that in. And make sure the top's been taken out. So let's have a look. Press F to focus, and we'll push that back a little bit that way. Perfect. So now we've got that, we can make that into a hole. And let's bind that in with the group. So now we've got the gap for where the mouth will be. So I don't actually like that. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And drop that down. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit more. Perfect. So let's group that. And that's the gap for our mouth. Well, let's look at that. Maybe we can rotate that around a little bit more. If we zoom out. That's looking a bit stabler. Put it down one. Awesome, cool. So now we've got that. So we put the mouth, scale the position, pyramid to a dark shadow, blah, blah, blah. Yep, so we've created the mouth. Now we probably want to create the eyes. So zoom out, places here, down on, that's probably a bit too far away. Let's put it in front. And they want them to be 8. So let's scale that down. 8, and these are the whites, the eyeballs. Now, if you duplicate that while holding Shift and Alt, I need to move it probably 1 mil out. Well, let's just do it manually. Let's type in 1 mil. Okay. And we'll change that one to black for the eyeball. And then we'll scale him down. Let's say 6.8. Yep, that looks reasonable for an eyeball. So we've made the eyeball. Now we need to put this half sphere on top of it. And the half sphere needs to shift down. Where is it? Pupil, scale it down. blah blah blah, 5 mils. So we go from the top here, shift, hold that down, and we'll go 5. Awesome. And then we bring that back over here with that, align relative to this, and we'll center it. Whoop, didn't quite get it. With the eyeball, we align, go to the ball. What's going on there? Hang on, try again. So we highlight that. And get rid of the black. We align, go to the white. Perfect. And then we'll lift that up. And we need to rotate that 22.5 degrees. And then now we can pull that back a bit. And there's our eyeball. Awesome. So now we can go back and group that. Drag him back inside. Make it multicolor. And push him up from the top. So I'm just pressing Control Shift up. Make sure he's sort of somewhat immersed into it. Maybe a little bit more. And a little bit more up. And a little bit out. Now instead of Control D, I'm just going to do Alt Shift D and click him, drag him out. There we go. There's your eyes done. Awesome. So that's the eyeballs done. Next we need to put a bit of a back throat in, so we'll get a paraboloid. Rotate that 180. We're going to make that hollow so we can see through it. So we click here, shift click, align with the cylinder, and we'll just place it in there. Fantastic. So probably want to drop that down in size a bit, and shift back up. And then we want that to go up into the mouth. And press F for focus. And I'm going to go Alt, drag that out. And Alt, drag that back in. Close the dot on the top coming out. Might want to make that a little bit bigger. Drag that down. There we go. So now instead of whole, we'll make that black. Oh, solid, sorry, and then we'll go black. Awesome. So there's the mouth. Then we can also put a tooth in, like they've done before. So we'll just put a box in. Actually, no, before we do that, we'll use the work plane so it makes this a heap easier for when we place the box. So we'll place the box in there. This will make more sense when you see it. Moving back up. Press F for focus. And then we probably want to shift that back. A bit more width. And shift that back in. the white. Oops, how many of these boxes did I make? Whoop. There we go. And then we want to shift that down, make that white. And then bring that up. And then we make that the same color. Awesome. Go to the work plane. That's looking pretty good. Move that up. Back. Right, so we've got the base of our little tooth monster. Might move that over a bit more so it's symmetrical. Awesome. There we go. So we've got the tooth done. So let's just copy all that. Move on to the next lesson. The reason I copy that is each time you move on to the next lesson, it doesn't quite save it. They've saved on different levels. So here we go. We're going to add some arms. So there's our monster back. And this is where it gets a little bit funkier. So there's a different type of objects that you can use in the shape generators, and the community's basically built these. So if we go into shape generators and we go all, there's all these different ones. So like Australia, which is kind of cool. And a few other bits and pieces. So we need to keep going on. I think it was on page 3 I found it. No. There. So they want you to put a pineapple down. And then the next one, I think it had the corneum. So if we read through here, if we press F, we can focus in on it. And there's a whole heap of different properties that we can do here. From what I can read, they want you to basically change the white handles in this to make the inner tube be circular all the way through, so it looks like a bit more like a tentacle. So once we do that, that should get rid of all that. And then unfortunately it has a list of images underneath which it hasn't got on this tutorial, so might have to check back a bit later, but we can sort of cheat and we can see that they wanted it to be 10 and 0.1 of a mil for the top of it. So the bottom radius, instead of it being such wide like it is there, we'll drop that down to 0.2 or 1. So we'll go back here, we'll slide that right down. That's not what I signed up for. Hang on. We'll go back here. 1 mil 10. Make that 10. And what else was the last one? 0.1. There we go. So now we've got this weird little sort of tentacle thing going on. And you can play around with that until you sort of get it working the way that you want it. So now they want us to rotate the tentacle up on 90 degrees. And then we probably want to swivel that around and place him in something like this. So I'm just sort of ad hocing it here because we don't have the exact dimensions that were on the website. So if we come back, we'll rotate that a little bit more. And let's put him in there. And then just drag that out a little. Awesome. So now if we duplicate that, place him on the back, rotate it around. We've now got our tentacles. Now we can select both of those, press Ctrl D, mirror it, and we'll just move that across the other side. Again, we can change the accuracy here just to make sure. And then there's our little monster. Unfortunately, we can't quite get it looking like the original diagram that they've made, simply just because we don't have this gap in here, which I can't quite work out. But stay tuned, I might be able to update this a bit later once I work out what to do there. So that's pretty much that done. We'll move on to the last bit, which is really cool, which is how to make the armor. So if we move on, select all that, press Ctrl C, and then we're going to add some armor on the back of this. Now if you can work out what the actual measurements were, that'd be really appreciated, and I'll try and update this video in the future if that's possible. So if we press Ctrl V, place the nice little alien down, and just to iterate the point, what's about to happen is we're going to have a look at duplicating. So if we can duplicate something like this, and we rotate that around 90 and drop him down, then pull it out and drop it down a little bit more. Yep, perfect. What we're going to have a look at is the duplicating function. So if we have the original image like this and we duplicate it, Control D, if you keep that original selected and we scale it down by a set amount, so I'm going to use Shift Alt and scale this amount, and then I'm going to rotate it that much. Okay, and we're going to try and keep the tip a little bit higher. If I now press Control, oh no, hang on, I've stuffed that. Let's go back. So select the original image, Control D, move it across, and then Shift Alt. Shift Scale, move it up here, and then rotate it. If I've now got that selected and don't deselect it like I just did before, and I just press Control D, let's try that again. You can basically scale and duplicate without having to separate. So that's what's happened. There's a couple of these, sorry. So if we got this, press Control D, shift it across, scale it down, and then we rotate it. If I now press Control D, what happens is that pattern will now replicate itself on and on forever. Okay, which is a very useful feature if you're going to follow a pattern down. So what we can do is we can apply that to the back, which we'll do to our monster back here. And what we're going to use is the pineapple. Okay, so with the pineapple, we're going to try and make some sort of scale pattern like that into the back of this. Okay, so if we click on this, you can play around with this pineapple and sort of change some of the different features. So I found giving it the same sort of curves and then doing something like that looks kind of cool. I'm trying to keep it balanced. So it looks sort of a bit more like armor, and then I shrunk it down. In Shift Alt. And then compressing it that way around. And then we can make it purple. And then just place it in. Now this is where it gets kind of cool. It's totally up to you how you sort of align this up. But what I'm going to do is have it basically follow along the back of the sphere. So if we have him there, and we just move that across, we'll make that a bit more accurate. So we'll go 0.1. And if I go up, cool. So now, if I duplicate that, and we move it back, down, and give it a little bit of rotation. If I press Control, oh no, because I deselected it, that's what went wrong. So if we go back, sorry, select the original one, press Control D, move him back and down a little, and then give it a little bit of rotation. I just keep pressing Control D, we'll get something like that. It's kind of cool, and you can fiddle around with it, try and make it a bit more unique. Up to you sort of how you want to sort of make that sort of armor pop up onto your monster. Awesome. So that's been the end of this tutorial. Hope you've enjoyed it and learned something new. See you shortly.